Quick try because we're gonna see something. Oh, maybe it.
Can hear you now, Jillian. It's a little quiet, but we can hear you.
Is that Lyle? Yeah, it's Lyle. Lyle. Are we still muted? I think we're unmuted.
Yep, I'm here.
Oh, so do we need to turn the smartboard speakers down when we're singing?
It sounds okay right now. If you're sharing, if your mic's going, it'll just pick up the audio. You're not sharing a video or anything, are you?
No, we're just gonna sing it like a cappella, just live. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that should be fine.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lyle.
We're good. Okay.
Yeah.
I'd like to call the meeting to order. Meeting number 6, Board of Trustees regular meeting, GYPSD. Please stand for the singing of our national anthem. I'd like to read our land acknowledgement. Welcome to Grand Yellowhead Public School Division, a welcoming place for peoples from around the world. I wish to acknowledge that the land on which we gather this morning is Treaty 6 territory and is a traditional meeting ground, gathering place, traveling route, and home for many Indigenous peoples. We also acknowledge Treaty 8 territory, where some of our families, schools, and staff are located and from where they may be joining in today's meeting, located here in Edson. And the announcements this morning. I'd like to take a minute to acknowledge that we are closing in on the end of 2022, and in doing so, share the board's appreciation for our division's focus on our priorities. Our 3 priorities, which we're very familiar with: student learning, teaching and leadership excellence, and community engagement. As your Board of Trustees, we strive for good governance, strong policy, and the opportunity to advocate for strong public education and bring attention to issues that are important to the success of our students. Since coming together as a new board, just a little over a year ago, our board has accomplished a lot of things. In addition to touring every school and meeting with our school leaders, which we very much enjoyed, and walking through the school continuous improvement plans and the school budgets and initiatives to engage students and their stakeholders. We've heard from each of our central department teams as well on the work that they do to support staff and students. And since this time last year, our board has corrected the attendance boundaries. Here's a list of things from the 2017 for the 2 Edson elementary schools. We've worked with the community of Hinton to explore a grade reconfiguration of the 2 elementary schools to address student enrollment and facility use discrepancy. We've successfully advocated the Minister of Education for the reinstatement of the fuel contingency fund. We've held community engagement events in each of our 5 communities to get input and feedback on our instructional focus for our 3-year ed plan. We've supported the launch of a new career pathway program in aviation at Grand Trunk High School. We've recognized National Day of Truth and Reconciliation to ensure that all stakeholders could attend local and regional events to reflect on the history and trauma done to the Indigenous peoples. We've launched a school bus pilot model in Jasper. We've submitted a strong audited financial report that illustrates financial stewardship and allocation of funds to support our 3 board priorities. We've received construction funding approval from Alberta Infrastructure and Alberta Education for the modernization of Grand Trunk into amalgamated K-12 school. We've worked with the community of Grand Cache to explore the closure of Sheldon Coates. We've established an innovative learning program with Canada Research Chair, Dr. Dwayne Donald, for the division's Indigenous lead teachers. And we've launched a health and wellness ad hoc committee to review Board Policy 20 and the division support for students and staff. The board has been recognized provincially for work in communication, with our first-year teachers, and our actions supporting truth and reconciliation, and our commitment to community engagement. So as we look forward to 2023, we will continue with our advocacy work. We're going to ask the ministry to increase reserves caps and IMR, CMR funding for the school boards and support school boards to address skyrocketing utility expenses. We will also continue to ask the government to maintain its commitment to a well-funded public education system in Alberta, a system that has for many years been an international leader on the global stage. So finally, on behalf of the Board of Trustees, we want to wish all of our families, our staff, our students a really happy holiday and Christmas break, and we extend best wishes for the new year, and we hope you have lots of fun with family and friends, and probably wonderful winter activities and a few sleep-ins. So Merry Christmas, everyone. Now on to our agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda, trustees? Seeing none, can I have someone approve the agenda? Trustee Caputo, all in favor? Okay, thank you. Approval of the minutes from the regular public board meeting of November 23rd. Can I have someone make that recommendation? Trustee Fowler. Any comments on the minutes and mistakes or? Right, seeing none, can I have approval of the minutes from the 23rd board meeting? Approval of the minutes? Any opposed? And our special, it's carried. And our special board meeting of December 6th, can I have someone move that approval of those minutes? Trustee Boblick, any comments on the minutes? All right, seeing none, can I have I'll call the motion for the approval of the minutes from that special meeting. All in favor? Okay, that's carried. There was no business arising from the minutes and delegations this morning and presentations. First of all, ATA Local, President Schmiel, welcome to the meeting. Ms. Schmiel, do you have any report?
A very brief one. First of all, I'd like to say good morning and thank you again for having me. It's a pleasure to be able to work local with our board and the division. I'd like to start off by saying thank you very much for all of your support this year. Merry Christmas. Merci de l'écosystème. Okay, and also we have some signs. If you're interested, I have a couple of things in my trunk. And I've got the little pigs for them as well. If you're interested, if you want, I can pass them on a later date and get some more for you. Other than that, just an update on the roundtables that are going to be happening across our division and we were local, such as Northern Gateway and Living Waters. The December 2nd one was cancelled due to the fact that it was December. There were report cards and other meetings that were taking place. I will keep you apprised of the dates coming in the new year. We're planning on having one in Edson, in Hinton, Jasper, and there's interest for buying our patches.
I think probably we can get all 10 signs, I think. There's lots of people who want to take those.
Thank you, Ms. Schmiel. QP Local, we do not have a presentation. And moving on to 4.3, we do have a presentation. And this is exciting. We have Principal Arthur Coda, and I believe Teacher Jillian Hammer from Sheldon Coates, and I think we have a children's choir. So good morning and welcome. Over to Superintendent Lewis. Did you wish to say anything, or you're?
Oh, yes, well, I do. I've been enjoying the journey around our division with our principals and our students, and the opportunity for the students to share all of their skill sets with our board. This looks like a very lively group. I'm excited to hear them singing.
Hello and welcome. Can you hear us okay? Awesome. This is my grade 1-2 class. We have mostly grade 1s in here today, and we are going to do a Christmas medley for you. And we've been really working on using our singing voices and not our shouting voices. We're all very excited for Christmas. Okay.
Oh. Apparently it's on. Yeah.
Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer.
Principal Dakota know that.
They never. For Christmas and a happy new year. Thank you so much.
Jillian? Jillian,
Yes?
can you hear me?
Yes.
So we couldn't really hear the singing. There seemed to be something going on your end. I know Lyle's been reaching out.
Okay.
It appears we can hear you now.
Okay.
Any chance that was like a dry run? Any chance?
we can go ahead and give it another try. Yep.
Thank you.
They didn't quite hear. Yeah. So everybody move forward. Yep, move forward, and we're gonna give it another try. Okay. Very good. Good job. Okay. Ready? We're gonna sing a little bit louder. Okay, ready? Yeah.
Jillian, we can't hear you. Do you think you have noise canceling on?
Away! Was that better?
Yeah.
Yes, it was better.
Okay, that's good. We just kind of did just a few short ones. We're kind of ready for recess.
Thank you very much, and we wish you a Merry Christmas too, all of you. Thank you to the choir for bringing us those lovely Christmas songs, carols, and Merry Christmas to you.
Thank you very much for having us.
And go and enjoy recess. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that was so sweet. Thank you. I think we're really appreciating having student presentations at the board meeting. All right, action items. 5.1.1, the Grand Trunk Project name change. A recommendation that the Board of Trustees approve the name change of Grand Trunk High School to Grand Trunk School. And the governance implications for this is that in accordance with Board Policy 2, role of the board, naming schools is a board responsibility. And in support of its third board priority, community engagement, stakeholders in the lobster communities were invited to share feedback and input on names for the school modernization and amalgamation project taking place in Evansburg. And I have someone make this recommendation, Trustee Boblik, and this is now over to Superintendent Lewis.
Thank you, Board Chair, and such an exciting moment for the Lobstick area and Grand Trunk School. With the modernization on the eve of, tenders to bids, and then from there, the next step to actual construction. It is important that the community is happy with the name of the school. Thank you to Trustee Boblik for recommending that BIB carry out a survey to the community to see what the community felt about the naming of the school. It's really important. It's like naming a baby, and you want to get the right name. Trustee Boblik, did you want to share any comments?
Well, I wanted to thank you and your team for doing the survey and allowing the people of Lobstick to decide on a name. We had 44 responses, and it actually was quite interesting. Some people would like to have seen it named. But overall, Grand Trunk School won.
Yes.
And so it's at the voice of our constituents in that area that we will change the name to Grand Trunk School.
Okay, any other comments on the recommendation?
I think you may be a board chair, because I think when you were applying for a grant for the school, you're about to do that, so thank you. Because I think you were gonna bring up.
Well, yes, I was just going to say that Grand Trunk, I know that Principal Zattery shared with me how proud the Grand Trunk community was of the history of their school. And of course, the second highest railroad bridge in Alberta runs across the Pembina River, and it was constructed by the Grand Trunk Pacific Railroad back in the early 1900s. And the school, of course, named after the Grand Trunk Railroad. The Grand Trunk, they have a steam engine bell displayed in the school showcase, along with a plaque that displays an original switch key donated by a retired railroader, O.L. Meyer. And there's a lot of rich history there and pride in the name. So I think we want to thank the community for giving us some feedback on the name. Trustee Boblik?
One of the names that came forward was Meyer.
Oh, is that right?
Community School,
Perfect.
which probably reflects back to.
Yeah. Any more comments, trustees, or questions? All right, I'll read the recommendation again. That the Board of Trustees approve the name change of Grand Trunk High School to Grand Trunk School. All in favor? Okay, thank you, that's carried. We have a new name for our school. 5.2, advocacy letter regarding school board reserves. The recommendation is that the Board of Trustees moves to direct administration to send Minister LaGrange an advocacy letter regarding the reserve amount boards may keep. And just the governance implication for this is that as per board policy 2, roles of the board, political advocacy, identifying issues and communicating with elected provincial officials is a board role. So the board values strong working relationships with elected officials in carrying out its stewardship for strong public education and its responsibility to ensure world-class educational experiences for students in Grand Yellowhead. Can I have someone make that recommendation? Trustee Pettit. And this now is over to Superintendent Lewis.
Thank you, Board Chair, and I would like to acknowledge this entire board for its advocacy efforts. It is evident that you are always thinking about the community that you serve, both educationally and collaboratively, because part of education is collaboration with our community members. And I'm going to hand over to the Secretary Treasurer because he will speak to why it's important for us to increase our reserves, and especially based on, and you're going to share that, how many days of operating money we would have moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent Lewis. So as per the report here, it's actually in the funding manual where it's sort of capital planning for our operating reserves. The range is 3.15% for corporate and 4.95% depending on your school jurisdiction's composition. Our percentage is 3.89%, and that puts us at about $2.4 to $2.5 million. There's actually a minimum requirement as well too that we have to maintain 1%. So that means we have to live between $600,000 and $2.5 million. On average, the division spends about $5.75 million a month, and we spend about $3.7 million in payroll a month. So that doesn't even cover that for 1 month, the range we have to live in. So we're advocating to have this reserve cap increased just so that we can have a certain amount of cash on hand to pay for unexpected things. We do get paid monthly, but there have been one instance in recent years where we missed a payment and that caused some concerns and issues for certain school boards. So that's that actually healthy. But just when we get down to the full percentage numbers, it gets difficult to manage, and I like to be able to sleep at night.
Thank you. Trustees, any comments or questions? Trustee Caputo?
Well, thank you, and I greatly appreciate these letters that are going forward because we do, as a board, we do a lot of advocacy letters, and they're greatly appreciate that. My question is in regards to, okay, we've got reserves, but we've got plans for those reserves, and that would include probably in those reserves for what's happening at for Grand Trunk School, and I'm thinking, I'm afraid, would the government ever say, you know what, you've got too much reserves, we're going to take some back? Would that ever happen?
That's the whole point of this cap, is that obviously if you're above the cap, they'll take money back. We have plans to make sure we're lower cap. Grand Trunk modernization sits in our capital reserves, which is protected. The government generally doesn't go after capital reserves. They haven't in the past. There's operating reserves to go. But yeah, all of our reserves are accounted for and have a purpose. Some are operating reserves talked about in our financial statements, or things like land tax improvement or contingencies where if the building burns down and it's deductible or something like that. And then actually the majority of our reserves sits that the schools carry forward at 3% they're allowed to carry forward year to year. About $1 million.
Thank you.
Trustees, any other comments or questions? Trustee Pettit?
If perchance we did not be successful or we weren't successful in getting that increase in reserves, this division would be okay though, because we do have the backup line of credit, right? Or what would we do in that scenario if the government disagreed?
After this, there'd be a lot of trouble if they missed a payment, but we do have that $400,000 line of credit that we can pull out at any time. Luckily for us, because we have that money sitting aside for the grant truck modernization, cash flow wise, that's help covered, but not a lot of school districts have that. I don't think living within this range is fair for a school division. It takes me a lot of our economy, and how do we plan for future? How do we plan for a grant truck gym when we can't have a lot of resources to do those things? Yeah, know that we can modernization.
So all of that information and what was here would be in our advocacy letter to the district.
Okay, sorry, Trustee Delisle.
Thank you, Board Chair. I guess what I'm hearing is there's an increase in costs and basically static or reduction in funding kind of in a manner overall. And then when we include inflation, we basically have less money coming in to actually available for use. So it would then stand to reason that we would have to increase percentage-wise what we're receiving in terms of what we're turning into reserves. So I'm just thinking this issue, yes, I think we should definitely advocate to the minister. Is it possible to also send a carbon copy of this advocacy to other political parties at the legislature? That is all.
Thank you, Trustee Delisle. I think we can do that. And as well, we always copy PSBA and ASBA on our advocacy letters. Superintendent Lewis?
Secretary Treasurer, I know that other organizations outside of education do have higher limits.
Yeah, general industry practice is probably 3 months of cash on hand expenses. Actually, just at our ESBO conference, anywhere Secretary Treasurer of our health services said it's unusual not to have at least 3 months of payroll on hand, which for us would be close to $9 million. So those are those kind of considerations. It's not too much.
So if I'm understanding correctly, right now we would barely make a month.
Thank you. Any other comments, Trustee Bobbitt?
Could you just remind us how much is sitting in that pot for capital?
Close to $8 million for capital.
Oh, sorry, I meant for operating, sorry.
Yeah, it's just around the 4 million mark. $1 million of that is school generated fund, which has to be excluded. And then obviously, just we plan for deficit in this upcoming year, so that draws down to the similar amount.
Which would be approximately.
You have to be below the 2.4, so we're below
2 million.
Yeah.
Okay.
How much was operating? Operating was how much?
I just around 4 million.
Less than 1 million.
Yes.
So just to clarify, 4 million less $1 million that's sitting in school. So around 3 million. Give or take.
Okay. Any other comments, trustees? Because I do. Trustee Pettit?
Last one, so what would be a comfortable percentage that you'd like to see for the year, or what would we advocate?
You advocated for 8%. I would say 6 at least, 6 to 8. Let's start with 8.
That would give us months.
I want to give us 3 months, but I don't think we're going to get 3 months.
Okay, so it'll be less than.
Yeah. It'd be double what we have now. So it'd be around a 2-month mark.
It's still less than the industry standard.
Okay. Any other comments? I think it's a good discussion because sometimes for our public, you know, we do hear in the news, you know, school divisions sitting on all these reserves, but in fact, you know, our operating reserves is prudent. We have to operate a big division with that. And our capital reserves are the big rocks, and we have to be responsible in long-range planning. And so thank you for the information that you provided. Any other questions? All right, I'll read the recommendation again, that the Board of Trustees moves to direct administration to send Minister LaGrange an advocacy letter regarding the reserve amount boards may keep. All in favor? Okay, that's carried. Thank you. 5.2.2, that the this is an advocacy letter regarding IMC and CMR grant amounts, that the Board of Trustees moves to direct administration to send an advocacy letter to the Minister of Education to request an increase in IMR and CMR grant amounts. Can I have someone make that motion? Okay, Trustee O'Shanick. And this is over to Superintendent Lewis.
Thank you, Board Chair, and I will in a moment ask Secretary Treasurer Nicholson and Director Orridge to discuss this, provide the board with explanation and examples. And as you just made mention, Board Chair, people hear things in the news, oh, we get this amount of money or that amount of money, but they don't necessarily, the news stories don't necessarily give the whole perspective. And I think this is a great topic for the public to get some information about. So I'm going to hand it over.
Thanks, Superintendent. So this report from the last public board meeting regarding IMR. So I'll touch on the numbers. IMR and CMR used to come in essentially, and the government split it out. Our IMR rate has stayed relatively flat after considering the US. However, the rates have decreased by 2%. So as our per pupil enrollment goes up, our per pupil rate basically went down to keep it more stable. So that means we are, even though we have more kids and more wear and tear, we're getting basically the same funding to address those concerns. Our CMR funding has drastically decreased over the last 3 years and projections for the last 10 years. You'll see that it went from 888 to 497,000 current year, and we're projected to go down to 365,000 the coming year, 2022, 2023, 2024. That combined with increased costs, as I wrote this report, the last inflation as of October report said that inflation was 6.95%. So, and then I would say even in the construction industry, you see higher inflation costs, escalation costs. We know for a fact that things like glass once 23%.
We're at 65%.
And things like steel as well, and other items are just increasing, especially with supply going down and hitting things. So we're advocating to write a letter to the investor about sustaining funding to previous levels, if not higher, to help accommodate these inflation cost escalations.
Yeah, so give you some context of where we're seeing some big increases. As you all know, Jasper Elementary is scheduled to have a rooftop unit installed on it. That delivery date was supposed to be for Christmas time, and it was pushed off until February. That delivery date now has been pushed off April 23rd. I had a meeting with the engineer yesterday, and they're looking at pushing this off now until June to be delivery date. So it's exponentially growing everywhere. Glass, as I said, went from about a 65% increase we've seen from this time last year, which we had already seen increases. And now we've been given a letter from our glass company that we deal with in Edson and Hinton that we're looking at another 12% in 2 years. So everything's just growing, and you can't get materials. So it's becoming quite difficult.
It's to the point where we are planning to do one project, or we have to save money for what we used to do one project.
Okay. Trustees, questions, comments? Trustee Caputo.
Well, thank you, and thank you for your presentation. You just mentioned about the shortage of materials. What's going to happen? We're going to be doing a modernization at Grand Trunk School. Where is that going to be putting the
Well,
situation?
Unfortunately, with that would be in a government-run project, and once that project kicks off the ground, there's not a lot of big structural material that needs to be brought in, and what does need to be brought in can be ordered ahead of time, pre-month planning. So there, in some ways, it's pretty good. Both are going to have delays, of course, with getting some materials in some areas. But because we're not building a brand new school, we don't need all the new steel, we don't need all the new structural equipment. We can work with what we have, and they will be able to pre-order everything to keep going in a timely fashion.
Thank you.
Mr. Nichols?
I would also say that Learning Infrastructure manages quite a lot of larger projects, so they have more ability to be flexible and adjust things as needed. Mr. Chair, I'm sure is glad he's not managing the project himself in this difficult time. Fine and whatnot.
Okay, thank you. Trustees, other comments, other questions? All right, seeing none, I will read the recommendation that the Board of Trustees moves to direct administration to send an advocacy letter to the Minister of Education to request an increase of IMR and CMR grant amounts. All in favor? All right, that is carried. Thank you. Okay, 5.2.3. An advocacy letter requesting support for utility costs. The recommendation is that the Board of Trustees moves to direct administration to send Minister LaGrange an advocacy letter requesting support for escalating utility costs. Can I have someone make that recommendation? Trustee Fowler. All right, and this is over to Superintendent Lewis. We're talking about a lot of cost hikes and escalating expenses and for school divisions.
It certainly is the case for Chair, and I once again will hand over to our Secretary Treasurer and Director of Facilities, as this is their wheelhouse.
Thank you, Superintendent Lewis. As you can see in our report here, two things are going on here. Back in 2021, as per the table provided on the second page here of this report, we can actually see that the per student rate and the capacity rate, as well as underutilized space rate, all went down somewhat significantly from 1% to 8% across the three levels. During that time, I believe that money was used to support some learning services, to provide some additional funding. However, it wasn't additional money into education, it was just shifting of money from one envelope to another. And currently with cost escalation, we're seeing the negative effect of that. Since our funding went down in our O&M grant, we have seen increases in utilities more specifically, and even more specifically natural gas, which has gone up anywhere from 55% or higher. Compared from 2020, 2021 to 2022, we saw a 55% increase in just natural gas prices. We're seeing increases in electricity, water, and fuel, but more specifically natural gas. And again, this is something we need to heat our schools, so there's not a lot we can do in terms of the pricing there. We are looking at long-term contracts, again, it's variable rates or fixed rates to see what we can do as our contracts come up. But we're in some new contracts already. I know the previous administration reviewed those contracts to see the benefit of that. It wasn't. But we're looking at that again, just to increase costs. Yeah.
We're taking big hits. Natural gas has been a big factor. And of course, you all know carbon tax has been another one. And that's an ongoing, that one's not going to go away. So of course, we see that increase in the tonnage every year in the carbon emissions. So we will continue to see that. This is what it is. It's getting tough.
We're expecting further increases in the coming year.
Any questions? Trustee Caputo.
Thank you. In regards to the carbon tax, that would be something that's federal, correct? Is something also so that, should they be aware too, that federal government aware about the carbon tax specifically, that we as school boards are looking at, and maybe looking about, maybe, I'll be very honest, maybe doing it away for school boards for the carbon tax?
That would be an ideal dream.
I know.
To be quite honest, when organizations and school division, which are basically government agencies, are paying tax in any form, it's just moving from one hand to the other, really. In terms of government, it's what provincial to the federal government there, or even when we're paying GST, it's the same idea, really. In an ideal world, I think that would be great. So I think that's a reality, probably not because they have other political pressures pushing that through in terms of getting emissions to a certain level and things like that. The unfortunate thing is a lot of these companies are just pushing these increases onto the consumer. Totally. Similar with at the pump, I mean, government could offer us a reduced rate in Alberta for these kind of increases as well, right?
That we're not allowed to tax people. Like, years ago, school divisions could do that. They could tax community, like citizens, but we can't do that anymore.
I'm speaking to just at the pump, how the
Yes.
the premier announced that, they give a reduction for the carbon tax, and they can do the same thing for school boards. I probably think that's the best way to go here. For my consideration.
Any other comments? Any questions, trustees? All right, then I'm going to read the recommendation that the Board of Trustees moves to direct administration to send Minister LaGrange an advocacy letter requesting support for escalating utility costs. All in favor? Okay, that's carried. Thank you. Minister will be sick of hearing from us. 5.2.4, a letter of support for a funded staff position with the Rural Renewal Program. Recommendation that the Board of Trustees moves to direct administration to send a letter of support for a funded staff position for the Rural Renewal Program. Can I have someone make that recommendation? Trustee Caputo. Thank you. And over to Superintendent Lewis.
Thank you so much, Board Chair, and I'm going to hand it over to my colleague, Mr. Hardy. Thank you. So the Rural Renewal Program is a provincial initiative to target areas where there's low employee pool for specific jobs. So for example, in Jasper and Banff and the national parks, of course, those industries are based in tourism and hospitality. However, it's because of different challenges, there's not a large skilled pool to draw from. So the Rural Renewal Program is looking at ways to support immigration and temporary board workers to expedite the links between folks who are looking for work and employers who are looking for employee pool. So that's the philosophical background of the Rural Renewal Program. And right now, the program doesn't actually have a designated or delegated coordinator. So that means that whatever effectiveness it would have would be on top of somebody else's job already, and might not be as well managed as it could be. So advocating for a funded coordinator position will help to increase the effectiveness of the programming models.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Hardy. I can provide a bit more information as well because I sit on the committee in Jasper. And it is an initiative from the government to address the labor shortages, which are expected to be long-lasting, and there's an unprecedented shortfall right now for workers, employees, and so this is to help with that. And there's a belief that there needs to be some new strategies to attract workers. So this helps employers, and it also is a program that would fast track our temporary foreign workers to get their permanent Canadian residency. And it's quite a complex process, and it's for municipalities across Alberta. I know that Hinton has also got a roadmap and looking at it. And so to do this complex work right now, there's no funding for a coordinator. So it's done off the back of someone in the municipality. So this is just to support writing for a grant for a funded staff position. Any questions, trustees? Trustee Caputo?
May I ask, who would this letter be going to? Because it says a letter of support. Who would that be directed to?
It's going to go to the minister, as well as a copy to our MLA Long. And the minister is the Trade, Immigration, Multiculturalism Minister.
Does that need to be reflected in the motion? Yes.
No, I think if it's passed our administration.
Perfect.
Any other questions? Trustee Delisle?
Thank you. I was just curious, is there any financial implication to the board for advocating to this?
No, there isn't. This is just advocating, supporting committee to advocate for some funding for this program. There's no financial obligations to the board.
Thank you.
Trustee Boblett.
Did we receive a letter asking for this? Or is it just on the committee that you got this information?
I brought it forward because I sit on the committee, and so the Jasper coordinator is writing a proposal and was asking for letters of support.
Okay, so they didn't write us a letter asking for support?
No, it's coming from the community. This is a community-driven project. Superintendent Lewis.
Yes, and if I might make mention, as a corporate board, you often provide support to other agencies, the town council, the county, so on and so forth, with the understanding that it's reciprocal and that elected officials are working together to advocate to government for certain things that benefit the whole community and therefore also our students.
So would this, yes, would this be a regional position?
I think it's it would be a community position
So
because
one
every
for
community,
each community?
if it was successful, every community I think is quite different.
Because quite often they will do a regional ones that one in every community. Just wondering.
And I think this puts the issue forward that there needs to be staff to do the work in the communities. So, and right
It's a
now,
big job for one.
any other comments, trustees? All right, seeing none, I will call the question that the Board of Trustees moves to direct administration to send a letter of support for a funded staff position for the Rural Renewal Program. All in favor? All right, thank you. And 5.2.5, Policy 8, update. That the Board of Trustees approve the change to Policy 8, Committees of the Board. This report supports the Board's 22-23 goal number 1. Can I have someone make that recommendation? Trustee Fowler? This is over to Superintendent Lewis.
Thank you, Board Chair. I think also at this time, it's good to let the public know that the board reviews and refreshes and reviews its policies every 2 years. And the policy committee has been taking a deep dive into looking at all of its policies. And in order to support, as it indicates in this motion, goal number 1, there has to be small housekeeping change, but I do believe our policy chair, trustee Q, or vice chair, is going to make a comment to that.
Thank you. As you're aware, there's, like, as you said, it's a housekeeping item that we need to be putting forward in 8.2.4. And that's where it does, we need to be adding the words "or committee of the whole chair." So it would read, the policy committee chair or committee of the whole chair will review and approve the vice chair's expenditure claims. So that would be just a housekeeping item that we're looking. But it also needs to also be noted that we will still be doing our deep dive on this policy too, but we need to get this one in order first. So that would be my comments.
Trustees, any questions for trustee Public?
Could you just explain why for the board so that they understand?
Okay, well, it would be for the vice chair's expenditures. I'm currently the chair of the policy committee, and it would not be appropriate, and it is not right to have the policy committee chair to be signing over on their own expenses. So that's why that we have put board committee of the whole chair. And this could change, like the next year, you could have different, like a different chair of the policy committee, and we would have that would stand in place, that if it was ever to change, you don't have to change the policy again. It would be just a basic housekeeping item.
Superintendent Lewis?
I think in item 8, if I'm correct, vice chair, also chair of the policy committee, that the key word is "or." It allows for that flexibility, as you said, based on who's holding the position at the time.
Trustee Pettit?
So just a question then, if we make this change and approve it, what if the committee of the whole chair also becomes the policy committee chair?
And I think we might have to look at it again. But you know, it's just for
So this
transparency.
change doesn't, like, it wouldn't be something that's for year after year.
No, it would be, if that situation did arise, then we would have to look at this again.
And Superintendent Lewis?
Policy is fluid, and so yes, it would probably have to change depending, but we can't predict what that's going to be unless the trustee Pettit has a suggestion that would be different to what is on the floor right now.
Trustee Pettit?
I'm just thinking that if we're going to make a change for this, it would be better to make a change that might be more general, that, you know, the person who becomes the policy chair cannot be the one who signs their expenditures, therefore, you know, another person would be decided. I mean, obviously this isn't the right wording, but we're gonna have to look at this year after year if that situation arises. So it's not all encompassing, it is just my point that I want to point out, that does this board want to look at maybe an all-encompassing statement that the policy chair cannot be signing the vice chairs, or the person who is elected vice chair has to have a different board member sign their expenditures. Just something to think about.
Superintendent Lewis?
It's a bit of a conundrum because you don't know who's going to be vice chair and policy chair. So you could put in the wording, as you suggested, that if one is the vice chair of the board and also the policy chair, another trustee will have to be identified, except for the board chair, to sign off on the vice chair's expenditures. So I don't know if the trustees want to take this back to policy to reword and bring it forward again, or it's up to the trustees.
Right, okay, well, any other comments? We do have a recommendation on the floor, so I guess if it's voted down, that it'll go back.
That's correct.
And,
Yeah.
And my apologies, it just came to me today.
No, but if that's the case, remember the last meeting that we had where we did about the school name? This can happen to the same situation.
Postpone to the next.
Yeah, if that's the case then.
Again, my apologies, it just came to me today that is something we should consider as a board.
Okay.
and the sign off is just for transparency and
Totally.
And the other thing is, historically, in my experience in 5 years on the board, it's never been an issue. So anyway, any other comments, Trustee Superintendent Lewis?
Another thing I think as we're in a public meeting is very important for the public to know, as you have shared transparency of trustee expenditure. But we do have that extra check, which is our corporate secretary treasurer. He reviews every expenditure that goes through this division, and so there is that transparency as well, that we're adhering to all accounting rules for the organization.
Thank you. Any other comments, trustees?
I'd like to postpone this. We can discuss this. She's got better, like different wording.
Or you can, sorry,
Superintendent Lewis?
you can also take it, because it's on the floor right now, you can take it to a vote,
We did that with the last.
or you can rescind.
Because then if we don't vote, if we vote no for this, then we are where we are. So what I'm thinking that if we postpone this to our next meeting and have a discussion with the policy committee, and then we can go forward.
There has to be
Superintendent
another
Lewis?
motion, which is a move to postpone.
All right, are you proposing that, trustee?
I'm proposing to postpone this meeting, and I believe we do need a seconder on postponement. Yeah.
Okay, so trustee Caputo is making a motion that we postpone this recommendation.
Yes.
Postpone isn't the right word, is it? Postpone this recommendation. Can I have someone second that? Trustee Pettit. All right, any further discussion on that?
We need to just be very clear on the
Yes.
date in the postponement, that it's to January.
To the January meeting.
25th is our board meeting. I'm just looking to see at that and getting the nods.
Okay, to the January meeting. Okay, any further discussion? All right, all in favor of postponing this motion till the January meeting? Okay, any opposed? All right, it is carried. All right, thank you. All right, public comment period. We didn't have anyone register for comments. And on to the board chair report. First of all, I did want to speak about 7.1.1, the Hinton Attendance Area Review Project. So we've had really fulsome discussion with the community of Hinton through 3 different opportunities. There was the information meeting a month ago, then there was an opportunity to give feedback through a survey, then we went back for a workshop. Thank you to the administration staff for providing the maps and all the information that you gave for the community members and the school principals who were there and the trustees to look at this as we work through redesigning the Hinton attendance areas. And so we have lots of information to consider as we are going to be making a decision on this at the January board meeting, because people start registering for school in February and they need to know their designated schools because that's tied to busing routes and so on. So thank you very much again to everybody in the community of Hinton and to our leadership team and everybody who's looked into this. It's been really interesting to look at all the maps and have the discussion and look at the complex layout of Hinton and see the different issues that are arising. So thank you on that. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the Career Education Task Force Committee that has been formed in the province and is being headed up by MLA Getson. And basically, it's just to sort of develop a provincial framework to prepare students to meet the different labor market needs in the future when they graduate. So to be prepared for their future after high school and all that goes into that preparation. So the committee, the task force, has been going around the province gathering input from all kinds of sources. And I know that our principals have had the information and it's been sent out to our school advisory councils. And there's been an opportunity for students to give feedback. ASBA has coordinated a meeting. I attended and provided input from our division, which we discussed at the last board meeting. So we all look forward to seeing what comes of that framework. And thank you to everybody in our division who took time to fill in the survey and give some feedback. Brings us to the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Board Chair. In the last 3 weeks, we were busy. I attended 2 and facilitated 2 district leadership team meetings, one in Edson and one in Jasper. Those were very successful. We took principals and assistant principals and aspiring leaders through a consensus building activity where we established some things that were of importance to those schools. A very similar activity that we took the Superintendent's Youth Council through. I'm tabulating that data along with my team, and we'll be able to share that with the board in the coming months. In addition to that, I have been working alongside my team for the Hinton attendance areas and the special board meetings in the 4x4 establishment. I'd like to thank Dr. Kelly Harding, Ms. Nikki Wilkes, and Kate Brooke for their amazing leadership of that Hinton attendance area. Now, these 3 ladies took the charge under the leadership my apologies, and Christine. And I was just about to say, I have a feeling that there are many, many, many more people involved, and I get nervous when I'm trying to say everyone's name and then I miss somebody. So, to the entire team, led by Dr. Harding, I think it was a huge success. I'd also like to commend Trustee Caputo, Trustee O'Shannon, and our board chair. They had a significant role in presenting the information to the constituents in Hinton. And I thought that the event went off so successfully. We would have liked to have had more people attend, but we did have a good online survey response. And it just goes to show the commitment this board has for engaging with the public and listening to the public when making decisions that affect parents and students. So I really enjoyed that night in observing everybody participating and thinking through what might new boundaries look like. I ongoingly have principal conversations. I'll be meeting with my principal advisory group tomorrow morning, and I am meeting with the high school principal group tomorrow afternoon. And we have much to talk about in terms of, even though winter vacation is coming, we have diploma exams were 20%, and we want to make sure our students are well prepared for that as it comes back into play since COVID. I always have weekly meetings with Central and senior team leaders, and I attended the CAS Zone 2-3 meeting where I met with all the other superintendents from CAS Zone 2-3. We were talking about recent legislation and regulations that the government has brought in. We had a presentation from the Assistant Deputy Minister, Katie Joseph. We also had a presentation from the Registrar's Office with Mr. Dan Karras regarding the new changes to teacher discipline, and that was very informative for us. It was quite a long presentation, a lot to take in. I will be sharing that out with our principal leaders and school staffs in coming weeks. In addition to that, I have attended the board policy committee meetings, and the boards to be commended with their thinking about the fact that they can completely refresh their policies, bring them up to speed, bring them up to date. They're doing a deep dive, and I'm really enjoying being part of those conversations. I also attended the Education Society meeting on Monday, and the research topic was self-efficacy of assistant principals. Dr. Harding joined me at that meeting, and we were really excited because the researcher, who is the Deputy Superintendent of Edmonton Catholic, Tim Cusack, was talking about the things that should be in place for leadership development within the school division. He works with over 100 principals and over 150 assistant principals. GYP is small, but we are mighty. And what we were really proud of, and Dr. Harding and I looked at each other a number of times, was the recommendations was there should be regular professional development for principals, that's research-based, but there should also be regular professional development for assistant principals and aspiring leaders. And we do provide that and have done for the last 4.5 years. And then one thing that we were really excited about is we include our aspiring leader colleagues into the professional development with principals and with assistant principals. So they get to hear the same information, they're all on the same page. And Dr. Cusack talked about the fact that it's really important that all leadership staff have the opportunity to understand what instructional leadership is and what managerial leadership is and how they interplay. And we felt kind of proud of ourselves because, and Kara's Assistant Superintendent Ashmeyer is smiling as well, because this has been a very big part of our work with our leadership teams. So we were excited to see that we're on the right path in terms of what we're providing for our colleagues. One of the things that came to mind when I was listening to the presentation was, it is so much, and I have worked in an urban board, it's so much easier to deliver professional development in a city where everybody's close by. Our colleagues live in 5 different zones. There's a long travel distance between each zone. And I'm really proud of our school leaders because they make a real effort and a real commitment to attend the professional development and interplay with each other and also intervisit. When I did the DLT, I led the DLT in Jasper, it was shared with us at Mountain View School, did an instructional walkthrough at Harry Collins School just recently. And so we had elementary school teachers walking through high school teachers' classrooms, they're gonna do the vice versa. And we thought it was really fun because we'd be really deep into the work of instructional rounds, and we just heard that our schools are taking off. Mr. Kurt Scobie, principal at Mountain View, kind of threw down the gauntlet in our November DLT when he said, because we spent 2 days at his school, walking through his school with our colleagues, and he said to everyone at the meetings, now you need to get going, just do something. And sure enough, our colleagues took up the charge and are doing so. So I left that meeting that night feeling very proud of GYPSD and GYPSD leaders. And I submit my report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Superintendent Lewis. Trustees, any questions for Superintendent Lewis? Comments? Okay, well, seeing none, thank you for that report. It's recess break. We will take a 10-minute recess break. And, back at 11:22. I'd like to call the meeting back to order at 11:24. And we're going to move on to administrative reports, the division's department's monthly updates. And that the Board of Trustees receive a report on projects, processes, and/or programs carried out by central office departments since the last public board meeting as information. And this is over to Superintendent Lewis. And we're starting with, I don't know who we'd like to start with.
I think we have finance board chair.
Thank you, Superintendent Lewis. So just wrapping up in December, just doing budget reviews and updates and then follow-ups. Ongoing and part of some insurance committees, but also part of the risk management committee, as well as monthly we meet with our school to just talk about best practices and other things. Too. Enrollment projections just went out to our principals. We've asked them for back at the right for the break here, so the 23rd. They're due to come in January, so that'll give us some time over the break to kind of allow them work on other elements. Just get back in a few days to follow up if you have any questions or concerns. We did our INR statement of final costs. That's just reporting on projects and government. TIFA meeting is canceled. Presentation at DLT, as well as our own meeting. Coming up in January, obviously finishing up those enrollment projections. We have our tax receipts that will need to be issued, as well as our charitable tax returns. Our two budget will be opening, and I'll be meeting with the principals just to kind of see where they're at. We have about the 50% mark for most of them, so I'll just meet with them to see where they're at, make sure that their planning is on par, make sure they have everything spent or not that they're overspent or all that good stuff. We have 18 negotiations coming up. Again, insurance meetings will do. And then obviously, a big part of January will be the quarterly commercial board report. After we prepare the drafts and all that stuff as well too. Any questions?
Trustees, any questions? Trustee Caputo?
I have, in just regards to enrollment projections, how many do you have to do per year to the government?
We do one to the government per year, just around this time. It's always over the Christmas break, so I always try to get a head start on it and navigate that because it's a difficult time to get those principles. Yeah, we do it once per year, and it's just for our jurisdiction profile that come out in February.
Thank you. Any other questions? Comments? Okay, well, thank you. Thank you for the report. Mr. Nicholson? Thank you. And Benoit. And now we're moving on to Director of Facilities, Mr. Orch.
So the month of December is stage moving season for us. I hope all you trustees get a chance to take in some of the concerts that'll be going on. That's pretty much almost every second event for us.
Yeah.
So that'll continue for the rest of the month. And then in the next month, we'll start looking at finishing up some camera systems that are still outstanding. And we'll be looking at resuming into some building management replacements that we need to seriously do for the new year. So, questions?
Trustee Pettit.
Which schools remain to have good cameras?
This building needs to be done. We're going to take two old systems and install them in Wildwood and Abbotsford. For the next year or so, modernization.
Any other questions for Mr. Orch? I have just one question that came up at the Elementary School Advisory Council meeting, and it's regarding playgrounds. And of course, living in a national park has added issues in Jasper, and during COVID, the elementary the parents have been raising money as well as a Côte des Rochers for playground equipment. And in keeping with our forest schools and natural rocks, and they were wanting to have some boulders moved onto because it's a pretty flat playground, and they wanted to have some boulders moved onto the school ground for playing around. And I think they had a contractor lined up. And is there a lot of, they were wondering about liability and things like that, or where can?
Yeah, we've had that conversation with Jasper Elementary, and it's ongoing. They're looking at some other options after talking to our insurance company, because if we put too large of a rock in, and it's actual solid rock, it becomes a play space, and now they have to have correct fall protection, and the liability becomes if that child falls and breaks an arm or gets a concussion falling on a rock, there's some concerns there. So I've asked them to look into some engineered rocks, and I'm yet to hear back.
Okay. Because I know we embrace the forest schools, kids getting out into nature and so on, so it would seem like boulders, natural rock as opposed to engineered rocks. It's interesting that
We also have to consider talking with our insurance company. We're not only, it's not just a play space for during school hours, it's also in the evenings and mornings and non-student days. We also have to worry about the public safety.
And is that a concern in other, or do we have other playgrounds that might have?
We do not actually have other playgrounds.
We have boulders. I know we have some fun playgrounds and big spaces in some of our schools, but.
We do. We highly recommend engineered play structures so that they're engineered safe for students, and that also allows for fall protection if the student does fall off of, that case rates.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments, questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And on to technology, our director, Mr. Lee.
Good morning. Our technology team has been making steady progress on a number of projects. Also assisting finance with our overhead and verification. Over Christmas break, we've been doing a number of server updates and maintenance work in our server consoles, switches, and things. Parkland Composites is currently undergoing a computer upgrade for staff computers. That's happening as we speak. On December 8th, we had our second healthcare community practice meeting, and it went very well. Great feedback from that. In January, we'll be preparing our online registration forms for the 23-24 school year, and doing some testing and migrating Cognition off its current platform as we prepare to retire that. Planning some computer upgrades in ESC for the February, March timeframe. And this will get very busy overall. Questions?
Trustees, questions? Trustee Pettit.
For the preparation of online registration processes, or what?
For all grades.
All grade. Is there a way, just as some feedback, to have transportation, if they require that, and have it somehow connected to transportation? Because we had some people who registered for kindergarten and then have to re-register for transportation separately. So is there a way to kind of connect that so that they don't have to do it twice when they register for kindergarten, it's all said and done, or register for grade 1, it's all said and done?
Yeah, it is currently a separate program process. We can definitely discuss with transportation and see what changes we can do there.
So, Board Chair, the registration for schools is separate from registration for transportation service. And the reason why there would need to be two is because registration to attend a school or to confirm attendance at a school, they may not require transportation. One of the things we are looking at, though, is when folks who are new to the division are coming in to register their children, is that we do, on the registration page itself, indicate if you require transportation services, click here, and then ineligible or eligible, all those kinds of things.
Any other questions, trustees? All right, well, thank you, Director Lee. Learning Services.
If I might, Board
Yeah,
Chair,
sorry.
sorry, I was just watching the flow here. This is just a cute thing in that transportation has created their own logo. It's very nice. So if you receive an email from Director Lee, you'll see that, or any of his team. And they did happen to decorate their Christmas tree in Hinton, and it's decorated completely with tech pieces. And I just love the energy that the team is bringing in. One thing that was not mentioned is that Ms. Ilks, who's our supervisor in technology, has started a newsletter very similar to our Indigenous Pathways, which Ms. Albrecht produces, and it's called Get Techie With It. And it's been very well received as well. So just commendations to the technology team for their creativity on all fronts.
Okay, thank you.
Could we receive a picture?
Pardon?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah, that would be great. Thanks. Good idea. Okay. Ms. Ashmeyer.
Good morning, Board Chair and Board of Trustees. I only want to comment on the month that's gone by on the piece about the evaluation of resources. It's an ongoing piece that we are doing, but we will be meeting the Learning Services team, myself, with Pearson. And Pearson is one of the authorized providers of resources for new curriculum. We also have provided opportunities for K-3 teachers, principals to give us feedback on what it is that they will need so that we can do a really well-informed decision about purchasing of resources. And I would like to hand over to the teacher consultants, starting with Abby Fregany.
Great. Thanks, Assistant Superintendent Ashmeyer. It's been a busy month and a busy month coming up for some professional development in our division. So we just finished gathering all our principals together to show them our vision digital report card. So what we presented to our contractor for our digital report card through Power Teacher, and there was a really good response on that. Our assessment and reporting committee met yesterday and we just after the January bid dates in early into February. Our curriculum committee will meet in January to continue our outcome writing workshops. And we also have new K-3 teacher workshops that will start. That will be hosted in both Hinton and Edson on separate days to hopefully alleviate some of our supply teacher issues and gain as many participants as we can for the K-3 resource development. I will now hand off to Ms. Albright.
Great, Board Chair and trustees. Coming up in January, we have our second session walk with Dr. Dwayne Donald. So he would like to come in person, so we're aiming for January 30th, and hope the weather is cooperative. So all of our Indigenous Pathways Lead teachers can join us at that time. There is some preparatory work prior to each session, and so it is some fairly robust professional development. And on that day, Dr. Donald is also bringing a graduate student with him that will speak to some of the topics that we won't cover that day. So it looks like it's rounding up to be a very good professional development in January. And something that doesn't appear on the list, but just came across the airways this week, is the ASDA honoring Spirit Awards. Nominations are open, and I will be communicating with the Indigenous Pathways Lead teachers, principals, and assistant principals before the end of the week to get that process rolling and to do an orientation with them on how to fill out the package. And nominations close on February 3rd. So we hope to have many nominees from across our division.
And I'd like to just take a moment to share with the public the work with Dr. Dwayne Donald. Again, that was our deputy superintendent who did an ask on behalf of Grand Yellowhead, which you are aware of. I'm also the chair of the Alberta Assessment, no, I guess now I'm vice chair of the Alberta Assessment Consortium, and we as an organization there are partnered with CAFLIN, the Canadian Assessment for Learning Network, and some pretty big, well-known Canadian people, as in Dr. Damien Cooper, and they actually have now hired themselves, Dr. Dwayne Donald, and the work that we are doing is very, very in-depth, and I think we're pretty fortunate for the work that we are able to do with Dr. Dwayne. It is very customized for our learning purposes, and we are most grateful to Dr. Dwayne Donald and his master's students from the University of Alberta.
Okay, any questions, Trustee Fowler?
Just with regarding the digital report cards, okay. Will parents be able to access, when this is fully evolved, will they be able to also access paper copies? We've heard that as a concern.
Yep, absolutely.
So that would be a request to the principal of their school, or how would that be done?
Yeah, we would do a request through the principal of the school to make a print copy available, which would also be a digital copy that they would have in their parent portal for the time students in schools.
Thank you. A second question, I'm very interested in what is happening with Dr. Donald and the Indigenous Pathways Lead teachers. Is there any way of sharing any of the topics, or do we have to wait, or will we wait until it has happened and maybe at the next board meeting?
The overarching theme for our full year is looking at how education in Canada is being colonized. And so it's through a lens of decolonization and being aware of personal bias, professional bias, and he is very passionate about curriculum. And so a lot of what we do is start with the heart, and then the classroom, and then our programs of study, and how we're moving forward, all with our sight on reconciliation.
Okay, I look forward to hearing about how the second phase goes in January. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you to our learning services team. And now we're on to the human resources, and we have Ms. Ariat is with us.
Thank you, Board of Trustees. In December, we have continued with our Entry Workflow project, which is creating a digital onboarding and employee portal for our staff. It's great work, and we're really excited to continue this into January. We are also prepping for our new record check process as well. We are auditing employee files as well to just make sure that we capture all of the record checks that we have filed and notify any staff that needs to go and obtain new record checks. We do quarterly audits on personnel files and how they relate to ACDP. So we pull reports on that and just make sure that we capture everyone and that there's no changes that we haven't caught. We also did a presentation at TLT with all of our principals around wellness in our new Inkblot program. And in December, our new EFAP Inkblot launched, and so we provided our staff with information around that program. January is incredibly busy for us. We are preparing and will be attending 3 in-person career fairs at the University of Alberta, University of Calgary, and University of Lethbridge. This will be the first time in 2 years that we've done in person, so we are very excited about this and have a lot of prep to do. We will also be preparing for our annual letter of intent that goes out to all of our teaching staff, which helps us to prepare for staffing for the new school year. We were already in that phase, but we are. We also are supporting our principals with midpoint reviews. Those are conversations that they have with their probationary staff,
and just kind of a follow-up as to what their evaluations have been so far and areas for them to grow for the coming months here. We are hoping to wrap up in January our retreat workflow project. We were initially supposed to wrap up in December, but unfortunately things got prolonged. So we are hoping to have that wrapped up in January and roll out in the springtime. And then in January, we start collecting all of the record checks, which will be very big work for us. So that on top of everything else that we have on our day-to-day plate. So a lot going on in January for us.
Okay. Trustees, any questions? Trustee Caputo?
I have a question in regards to the record checks collection. I thought that when you start, like when it, like you already had that in place. Is that the process, or are you doing a catch up to ensure that everybody has one?
Yeah, so at the time of onboarding, we require updated record checks within the last 12 months for all of our new staff hired. Bill 85 was recently passed, which requires new record checks every 5 years for teaching staff. We have implemented it that it will be every 5 years for all staff members of the division. So this is where we are catching up now. We have 16 months as per the bill to obtain new record checks for all staff who have been hired previous years.
Trustee Caputo?
Thank you. Well, we as board members, we do have to provide our record checks too. Where would we fit in that category? Every 5 years, or when we begin a new election term, how would that be?
So usually at the term of the new election, we collect those. So
Perfect.
As of right now, we have all of your record checks.
So then for trustees, that would be every 4 years then, right? Okay, thank you.
I have one question. What is Inkblot? You're going to launch Inkblot.
Yeah, so Inkblot is our new employee and family assistance program. So it is taking the place of our previous one, which was Homewood Health. And it is the service that employees can reach out to 24/7. It's 100% confidential, and free counseling service to our staff, which will be going into.
We'll be providing you with a presentation this afternoon. Megan will be providing you with a presentation.
Okay.
I should also note that all principals have to have their professional growth plans applied to myself and my colleagues. We review those and then we pass them on so they're placed in the HR files. And that school continuous improvement plans are posted. That is not to do with HR, but the PGPs are. So, and of course, within the schools, principals are one-on-one with their staff.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Oriette. Inclusive education, do we have?
Apologies for Erin because
okay.
she is with Mr. Castrino's at another meeting.
Yeah,
but I think you can see just by reading the things that are ongoing right now. Are there any questions based on this?
Trustees, any questions? I just had the question, I know they were trying to get a higher OT.
Yes.
They're in the process, is that, do you know where that's at?
Sure, it's in progress, but my colleague, the Secretary Treasurer, and I can speak, well, he can speak a little bit, I approved it.
Yeah, we have a bit of, applications of interest, so we just put forward an offer.
No.
Yeah, and I think
Okay, thank you. All right, board relations, communication, Dr. Hardy, Ms. Gilks.
Thank you.
I'm going to invite Ms. Gilks to take the lead on this. Okay.
I'm ready. So as you can see, we had a lot of work that's happened in December. The majority of the work that the communication special project team was, of course, on our community engagement workshop and collaborate all that data from the survey, the workshop, and the information meeting. And of course, we'll be getting that all ready for the January board meeting as well. Do you have any questions on the information that's been presented?
Trustees, any questions? Trustee Pettit?
School brochure updates. On website.
They're on the website, so it's ongoing, so that I asked for the principals to review it to make sure that the information is updated, if they have any new programs. So it's on there. You'll notice it's on there as a regular update because it's an evergreen document. And we can print them if it's required for different activities, or I share them with different organizations. But for example, one of the things that I also did, and I didn't put it on here, I apologize, is I contacted all the communities recently for their websites to ensure that either of our schools are noted on there, that the information is connected back to ours, because we also put on our website links to our communities' websites, and then that's where I put these information brochures on our schools. So it helps them as well, so I encourage them, if they have new families, that contact them in each of our communities, that they know that they can find information about our schools there as well.
Okay, any other questions, trustees? Trustee Caputo?
My question in regards to these, the websites, do you contact real estate agents to also
Yeah, I let them know that that's where it is. And I will actually be putting together a package for each of them, just to let them know. I'll send one to the office manager and let them know that we have them on the website as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Trustee Pettit?
With regards to the newsletter, I don't know if this is under technology or communications. The techie, they said Miss Gilks, but they didn't identify which Miss Gilks, so I just wanted to.
Oh, yes, that would be Miss Candace Jones, yes, the tech newsletters.
Okay, Trustee Heller?
Just a comment, I just wanted to commend you, because you have been doing these brochures for quite a number of years, and that other school divisions, having seen them, have also started and are doing brochures. So yeah, they're really watching what we produce and duplicating it for their divisions.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, I was a special project manager UP-Gilks this year. I would like to just commend something that is a project that she takes on with her family every single year. And she reaches out to every school. She reaches out personally to ask them if there are any children who may not be receiving a Christmas gift. And then, with her own time and often with her own funds, she goes out to make sure that every single child that has been identified through the division will receive something. And I just wanted to publicly recognize that this is a lady with a huge heart and a huge work ethic. And we just thrive because of the kind of energy and love that Ms. Gilks brings to our team every single day. So I
I appreciate those kind words. The funds are also from, should be recognized from our central office staff who personally donate towards the toy run every year. So I've been doing that for 15 years, and it usually is about 200 toys a year that we distribute across the division. So thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or?
Not see any, so thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and last but not least, transportation. And Ms. Van Neck.
Good morning, thank you so much. The projects we've been working on in December really are relating to the planning that we're doing for the reports that will happen in January, the fees review, and then we have a little bit of work to do with the intent, and that will, if the board makes a decision to make any changes, that will drive some of the work that we need to do in a timely manner in January before attendance. registration. And we also are working on a new bus registration platform. We're gonna do that in conjunction with our bus planner software. There's a web portal, and it'll streamline the process, make it easier for us to track registrations and follow up with parents in a really timely manner. And parents will also have more access to the data on their children's busing moving forward with that. Really looking forward to the new process. This month, we've been working on integrating our new team member and planning for an extended absence, and it's been a real pleasure having the new member, and we're working to make sure that it's a smooth transition and that all our day-to-day processes and transportation run smoothly. There's always challenges with illness and drivers that aren't able to work suddenly, and that's our day-to-day. And having this team member is really helping to smooth that out, and we're doing training all the time. You might have heard the radio advertisements for recruiting some new drivers, and we're hoping that that'll bring some more people in to start training.
Any questions, Trustee Caputo?
I just want to say I need to say thank you for, I know that you guys were used to take our seniors in Hinton. And I think that's greatly appreciated, that, you took them around so that they could see the lights in our community. So you guys need to be commended, because one of the bus drivers, he was picking up people. And just so that you know, is that the bus was stopped and I had to go, wait, no lights flashing or anything, and I'm thinking, what do I do? So then, you know what, I stopped, of course, and then he waved to go through, and I'm thinking, okay, but that's what they did, and I would like to say thank you to the bus driver, and thank you so that they were able to use our bus so that our seniors could see our community during Christmas light up. Thank you.
I could just tag in on
Superintendent Lewis.
We should also acknowledge transportation, because they let Parkland put their great big float, thank you, in our bus barns. And then of course Parkland won the award for their most original float. So lots of community engagement along with regular operations.
Any other, Trustee Delisle?
Thank you. Yes, I've heard the radio advertising for positions, and that's fabulous. I was just curious, would it be possible to hire a part-time or standby driver in the Grand Cache zone just to enable the schools to utilize the activity bus a bit easier?
That's something that could be considered. I'll have to take that up with our team and see what's possible.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anything else, trustees? Trustee Pettit?
My question is just the name of the new team member and position.
And discuss it in a public.
Any other questions, trustees? Well, thank you, Ms. Van Dyck, Dr. Van Dyck. And thanks to everybody for the administration reports. I think this is a really great. I'm really enjoying being kept up to speed on. We have many working parts and divisions and in the division. So I'm thinking, well, maybe even the department heads here are enjoying the reports from others, although I'm sure you're in sync with what everybody's doing, that I'm sure our public, I know the trustees appreciate just a quick update every month of all the big work that's going on in the different departments. So I think it's great. Thank you very much, everybody. We're on to trustee committee reports. Board policy 10-1, and that's to our policy chair, Caputo.
Thank you. Just a minute here. We're going to, we did have one policy brought forward today, but that's going to be postponed till our next meeting. And also we are planning to have another policy meeting on the 18th of January. And I'd like to say is that this what we're doing as a policy committee is we're doing a really, really deep dive into our policies. So I just want to make trustees aware that policies will be coming forward for you to review in the future, and please do a good review of them before they come to the board for approval. So thank you.
Okay, Superintendent Lewis?
If I might, Trustee Caputo, also, we're very thankful to our principals. We share policies with our principals, and we receive some feedback on the first one that we're working on, and we'll continue to reach out to our principals and also UTA and PE where appropriate when reviewing policies. So thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Caputo. 10.2, recognition of employees committee. There's not a report. Board planning seminar committee, over to Chair Bublik.
We will be meeting on January 18th to do a book study. We will be looking at chapter 2 and
The goals.
And the goals, yes. Thank you, Chair Cartwright. I just had a moment there. And we'll be looking at that, and I'll be sending out information to all the trustees.
All right, board negotiation committee. They have not, they'll be meeting in January. Board reps for PSBA, Trustee Fowler.
No reports at this time, and thank you to the trustees for their involvement with the advocacy, which I will be reporting in February, and that will be when the next council meeting is in February for that.
Okay. All right, thank you. ASBA, Zone 2-3, I'm the rep, and we did have a meeting December the 2nd. There was an interesting process where we were all involved in looking at the strategic plan for ASBA. At each of the zone meetings, we hear from the president of ASBA, Marilyn Dennis, and the vice president, Shally. And so we worked on the strategy for ASBA and had input. Another interesting thing that they are doing is they're having sort of best practices on different topics come up. And the topic at the last meeting was on live streaming, because boards wanted to know what other boards, what's going on with live streaming board meetings. Not all boards do live stream, but it was a good opportunity to see what's going on in our zone regarding that. We also will be at the next meeting having Rick Grevenstein from Alberta Education there and for transportation, and we will be bringing forward our concerns and issues and questions. And we've already done that homework because Trustee Fowler had us look at transportation for advocacy for the Public School Boards Association. So we can use that information going forward. They're going to continue, the advocacy committee for Zone 2-3 is going to plan the some more coffee conversations, looking at election direction coming up. So they're hoping to have coffee conversations, and out of that generate a sort of a one-pager that trustees could share with parents and school advisory councils and so on, just to keep public education in the forefront as we run into, as we get closer to the election, so that we can keep our questions and issues out there. So that should be interesting. So we'll look forward to the coffee conversation coming up in the new year. There was an interesting discussion that came out of the University of Alberta Field Experiences about the fact that the discussion of badges for certain certification. And so we have a rep from Zone 2-3 go to the University of Alberta and bring us back information from the field services for sort of practice teachers. And I know the comment from some of the trustees was this isn't brownies and Girl Guides. They didn't really like the idea of badges. They thought it should be more professional. But that's an ongoing conversation. Anyway, that was in discussion, and it was interesting discussion to see. Then the other thing, there will be a roadmap coming out from ASBA as well for election. So there'll be a toolkit that trustees can use and so on closer to the election. Yes.
I think I sit on that same committee
Yes.
with Patrick,
Mhm.
and I believe the intent was to discuss a logo that's digital. You'll see it in tech very often now. You'll see some of our college, for example, the deputy or this Canada scale, so on and so forth. When they've achieved a certain certification, they're allowed to put it with their signature. So that was the intent, is like putting a degree or another certification behind your name.
For special training, okay.
Yes.
Anyway, it's a good, the discussion at Zone 2-3 is very wholesome. You know, you're wholesome. You get information from different sectors and committees. So that's the report on Zone 2-3. Now, moving on to Mental Health and Wellness Ad Hoc Committee. And this is over to the chair of that committee, which is Trustee Pettit.
Thank you, Board Chair. I had the pleasure of attending the Canadian Workplace Wellness Summit with a lot of the division team, principal, HR, and of course the committee for the ad hoc. And it was a wonderful way to learn what other school divisions are doing in the realm of health and workplace wellness. We heard other divisions share strategies that can be integrated into the work that we are already doing in this division. And it emphasized the importance of growing strong school communities with compassionate and healthy leadership. So advocating for wellness for staff and students and bringing awareness to the importance of mental and emotional well-being is something that contributes for overall organizational and systemic health. And improved practices and placing additional supports for staff without placing additional burdens or increasing workloads of our staff should be considered as a priority for this ad hoc wellness community. Through the collaboration with division staff, we can develop strategies to build the capacity to enhance workplace wellness, which is important to moving forward. In general, from the for the summit, it was indicated that in the education industry, the past 2 years have stressed on the need for strategies to assist staff and division leaders. And as a division, we can use the approach that works best for our staff by identifying strengths and weaknesses, choosing healthy strategies, and promoting social support networks. It is important to note that this process of learning and growth requires patience and time and will not happen overnight. However, this is part of the work of the Wellness Ad Hoc Committee, and we are committed to supporting our division in this endeavor.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Pettit, for your passion on this topic and heading up that committee with Trustee Bobolek and Trustee Oshamik. And thanks for the leaders that are helping as well, leadership team. So, okay, thank you. Meeting dates, future business. January 25th will be the next public meeting, and the committee of the whole that day as well. Any notices of motion, trustees, to come forward next month? All right, any future agenda items? Trustee Caputo.
This is in regards to, we were talking about it this morning about the carbon tax. I think that we need to write an advocacy letter that, you know what, you're giving money to schools. I think probably you'd have to go someplace federal. And I don't know if the Canadian School Board Association has done any work on this or anything, but about the fact about exemption for schools about paying the carbon tax. So that's what I would like to see.
So we could have some information provided at the next meeting. Is that possible?
Yeah, I'll do some research. Probably, I would think wanted to do something similar to the premier, realize the premier, and just to get additional funding to help offset that. That's what
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe February.
My team might need a little bit of time to.
Okay,
Yeah, so thank you. Thank you for that.
Put that on the back burner for
Thank you.
future meeting. Any trustees, any other future agenda items? All right, we don't have any in camera. And just before I ask for an adjournment, I just want to once again wish everyone a very happy Christmas holiday, happy holidays and Merry Christmas. And thanks for your participation today and be safe. All right, can I have a motion to adjourn? Trustee Baba. All right, all in favor? All right, thank you. And we will, Trustee Fowler, we'll reconvene at 1:15, is that 1:15 for the whole, is that right?
Yeah, 1:15
Okay.
for committee of the whole.
All right, thank you.
Do we just close that meeting?
Okay.
Okay.